we came here because we wanted to tell you a story. So it's a story that connects me to all of you guys and everything we all buy and consume. And that story starts, surprisingly, in the 1980s. Go to the next slide. So the year is 1987. Thatcher is Prime Minister. Google doesn't exist yet. So if you want to find a business, you've got to flick through a giant yellow book. Apparently phones were the size of bricks. They're connected to your car for some reason. And I'm not born yet, but my dad is. So my dad, Dave, he is a salesman working for a large cardboard box manufacturer. And he spends most of his days driving around in his Ford Sierra, dropping in samples of cardboard boxes to businesses. And when he used to do this, he noticed that in almost every factory, almost every warehouse that he would go to, there would be stacks of used cardboard boxes at the back waiting to be scrapped. And he used to think to himself, why are they throwing away all these boxes? I know loads of people that would buy these. So he set up, what he did is he started buying the boxes from one customer. And then when he was on his rounds, he would sell them to another one. And he didn't do it because it was better for the planet. He did it because it made good business sense. It was just logical to him. And he did that for sort of 10 or 12 years. And then he left the packaging industry and it kind of fizzled out. And then fast forward to 2013. So I was leaving school and I couldn't actually get a job. I tried really hard. I got rejected from KFC. Don't know why. And my dad was always badgering on about, I used to buy and sell these boxes. So we were like, do you know what? This is a great idea. Why don't we turn this into a little business? So about 2013, 2014, we made it into a proper business. We made a tiny little box company called Reuseabox. And we started buying used boxes from businesses and selling them on to other businesses. And again, it wasn't an environmental initiative. It made good business sense. Businesses loved it because they could save money. And we did this for a couple of years. And then 2017 hit. Now, I don't know what you guys remember about 2017, but for me, it was all about David Attenborough. So I remember Blue Planet 2 came out, the series that he did, and I remember it was all over the news. To me, it felt like everyone was talking about plastic waste and waste in the oceans. And for me, it was the first time that I think I sort of realised just how beautiful our planet is, how wonderful nature is, but also how much we're kind of fucking it up, really, with everything that we're doing. And it made us stop and think and reassess what we're doing. And we actually thought, you know what? Maybe this little business that we've set up, maybe it's not just a good business solution, but maybe it's actually part of a solution to the global waste crisis. Maybe this could actually be a benefit in trying to combat climate change. So, thanks. So we put that theory to the test. So we actually, we spearheaded the first of its kind environmental impact study, and that was with the University of Lincoln. It was peer reviewed by independent environmental consultants, and it looked at the impact of manufacturing, recycling, and reusing cardboard boxes. And we were quite shocked with the results. So it turns out recycling paper isn't all that good for the planet. Actually, it's part of a global supply chain. It's really emission heavy. And we were surprised to find out, apparently the fibers in paper, you can only reprocess them about 7 or 8 times, by which point they become too stretched. So when we make recycled paper, we always have to add in virgin material from cutting down trees. And the tree thing as well, that's a big thing. So does anybody want to guess, to put it into perspective, how many trees we cut down last year as a society to make single-use cardboard boxes?
In the world?
Anyone? In the world, yeah.
3 billion.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess. So last year was about 15 billion.
Oh, wow.
So 15 billion. Yeah, and billion, that's the big one, right? It's huge. just to make boxes that are basically used once before being thrown away and wasted. So, we're not trying to bash the paper industry for being unsustainable, because the truth is that paper is an amazing packaging product. It's very cheap, it's easy to make, it's really easy to recycle, and so it is recycled very widely. And we're not saying that you shouldn't recycle, because it's really important that we recycle paper as a society. But what we're saying is that sometimes there can be something better, and that can simply be reuse. Simply keeping these products, these boxes, in use for a bit longer. And when we say better, so when we say better, so when we did the study with the University of Lincoln, we were actually able to create a tool. So we have an algorithm. So every time we collect a box from a business, or if we redistribute one to another business, we're able to track the environmental impact savings. So we can show you how many boxes are being reused, how many tons of cardboard, but we can also show you the full impact. So the trees, the carbon, the energy, and the water that's saved when we reuse boxes. Move to the next slide. So that's our story. That's the story of Reuseabox. And we're a movement. You could think of us like a community of businesses that work together to reuse cardboard boxes. And we do that simply because it's better for the planet. And earlier on in the year, you guys reached out to us and you said, we're interested in looking at different ways of dealing with our waste cardboard. So for the last few months, we've actually been trialing the Reuseabox model at your Macclesfield factory. So this is the current or previous process. So what you used to do is the boxes would come out of your production area here, and you would put them in these wheelie bins, take them to your recycling area, put it for a compactor, and then sell that scrap cardboard to a recycling centre. And that's the normal solution. But all you do now is you bang them on one of these pallets, and we collect them and we get them reused. So it's as simple as that. And the impact, so over the next 12 months, based on the trial, the data we have, we believe that if you want to continue doing this, we can get about 500,000 boxes reused from you, which will save about 40 million litres of water. So you use a lot of water to recycle and manufacture paper. It's like mulching process. And that's the same as about 500,000 bathtubs, put it into perspective. And about 3 million kilowatt hours of energy. So that's like powering 12,000 homes for a week. And also save about 200 tons of carbon. So that's like taking 5,500 gas guzzling cars off the road for a week. And that's all by just sending it to reuse instead of recycling. And the other thing that's important to say is the business case, I think, is there as well. It's not just like an environmental initiative. So when we talked about the process earlier, so when you put it on a pallet and it goes to reuse, we're actually stripping back a process in your waste stream. So if you think about it, someone isn't having to put it in the compactor. So there's a small efficiency saving. And importantly, when we collect the boxes from you, we can buy them from you. So we'll pay you a rebate. And because it's now a product, it's always going to be higher than if you sold it to recycling. So it's a good business case. We call it Reuseanomics, whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to end by saying kind of our vision for the future. So, unfortunately at the moment, most people haven't heard of this reuse solution when it comes to waste cardboard. Most people have never heard of Reuseabox. And we see a future where when it comes to waste cardboard, reuse is a norm. We see every business as a standard exploring reuse before recycling. And we see all companies working together every day, every month to get billions of boxes reused. Like that's our vision of the future. And we see that because it's better for the planet, because it really can have a massive impact on fixing the global waste crisis, on trying to actually reverse climate change. So that's our vision. And I just want to end by saying, we're in a room with two of really big, well-respected, prestigious brands. So it was really just a bit of an ask. Like if we could ask one thing from you guys, it's just if you know any other companies that might produce boxes, give us an intro, because we'd love to at least show them that there's another option out there. And if there's anything you can do to help us raise the profile, because the way we see it is, you are big titans of industry. These are very big, prestigious brands. So if you guys say publicly, we're choosing to do this because it's the right thing, we know that others will follow suit. So that would be our ask, but obviously it's optional. Yeah, from our perspective, it's a product. I don't know how you guys want to record it, but effectively we're saying it isn't waste, is it? It is a product. I think pretty much all of your boxes don't have branding on, but we do get a lot of used boxes from companies that are branded.
How do you deal with that?
So there's a couple of ways. So usually we can debrand them. There's a way to cover up the branding. However, normally we start by saying, can you ask the supplier?
So you get to challenge the supplier.
Because a lot of the times the suppliers say, actually, we don't mind putting our name to this, and
Talk about 6 of
Yeah, that's the way
Yeah.
I was kind of aiming towards. That's brilliant.
yeah, and often we'll work with a company and maybe they're bringing in plastic components from a plastic manufacturer, and they have like berry plastics on the side, and they don't care because it's their brand at the end of the day. So all we do is we redistribute it. We find another company to reuse it, so we don't have control over it once
So
it gets
you never
reused.
see the end of like a box. It's somewhere down the
And
supply stream.
and it
Customer
becomes
will define that's now end of use because it's all crumpled. So or Reuseabox. That's my understanding. You wouldn't see that.
Yeah, exactly. And then that next company would be responsible for end of life. We do some circular models. So we try and we have a yogurt manufacturer, and they work with a manufacturer of yogurt pots, and they send about 1 million boxes a year from the yogurt pot factory to the yogurt factory. So we'll collect those and QC them, and we'll send it back to the yogurt pot factory, and they'll use them 7 or 8 times. But the majority of what we do is just selling it on to another company who'll reuse your waste. Yeah. I mean, we kind of say if it fits, it ships. So we just try and make sure they can squeeze their product in, basically. But the way it works, it's a very boring info about the box industry, but the way it works is most small and medium businesses, which could be 70% of the market, they don't buy a bespoke box, they buy a stock size, because it's cheaper than buying a lorry load of bespoke ones. So it's very easy for us to resell them. Also, the boxes you get in, they're normally designed to optimize what you get on a pallet. That's a very common thing. So we just find another company that wants to optimize what they get on a pallet.
So that's interesting because it would be appealing to different organisations based upon their logistics as well.
Yeah.
Let's say, for instance, if they've got their own logistics, you've very much in control of that. But if they use third-party logistics, they can get charged an volumetric weight. So if you've got a box bidding your product,
Yes.
it ends up costing more there. So there's quite a few buyers looking at that way there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and it's also good for the next company because they can get boxes cheaper as well. Because there's no manufacturing cost. Sometimes we do that. Well, that's more like a circular model, so we get the boxes back. Sometimes they're just being disposed of, but there's a lot of companies we deal with that maybe they put stuff into like FBA with Amazon, for example. So a lot of retailers send their products to an Amazon warehouse, and they want a cheap box to get it from their warehouse to the Amazon warehouse, and then maybe we can grab it back, QC them, and then reuse it a couple of times before it finally wears out. Then Amazon will recycle it. Yeah, we do that. That's the ideal solution. It's less common in it tends to be bigger deals where we do that. So like with the yogurt one, so that's a company called Yo Valley. So they make yogurts, and they're the biggest yogurt manufacturer in the UK. And obviously, that return supply chain works quite well. But like for a lot of your boxes, it's coming in from America, or it's not worth it. So we have to find someone in this country. But if we can do a circular model, we'd always rather do that because A, it's more efficient for everyone, Reuseabox, and it saves the businesses a lot more money because they might reuse their own box 3 or 4 times. And the impact, obviously, you compound the impact. If you reuse it 4 times, your impact savings are a lot bigger. We can give you a waste transfer note. Technically, it's not waste, but every now and then we get like a big corporate company and they say, well, we have to have a waste transfer note. So we can give you one. But then our data that we supply as well is against each collection. So we'll show you number of boxes collected, number of boxes reused, because we might get the odd broken one when we QC them. Obviously, tons of cardboard, reused, rebate, because we pay you for them per ton and per box, we'll give you a price. And obviously the nice impact stats, so the trees, the carbon, the energy and the water that's saved. That's against every collection. We also have like an online portal, so you could log in and you might want to filter, show me all the stats for this site or for this supplier or something. I think with the EPR regulation, I'm not like a compliance expert. In fact, some of you guys probably are. But as I understand it, so with the new EPR legislation, I'm pretty certain if we were to send the boxes back, then on that second use, you wouldn't pay the fee. So it would save you money. But if we sell it on to someone else, in my opinion, a bit stupidly, there is no discount. But the next user would, if they qualify, they would not have to pay the fee. But there's loads of legislation coming in. And I think the way that it's going, well, again, you guys probably know more than me, but the way that it's going is, if you're reducing waste, at some point you're going to be saving money when it comes to the legislation side of things. Cardboard box manufacturers, generally, it's quite a low margin product, low margin, high volume. So a massive part of their cost is actually just the manufacturing and the shipping. So we don't have a manufacturing cost. So when we sell boxes on, we are between 30 to 50% cheaper than if you bought a new one, if it's like for like. When we buy boxes, we are, we're able, if you're recycling, you're selling it, it's a commodity, it's waste. So we're not in the commodity market. So we give you a higher price and a fixed price, and hopefully some efficiency savings as well in the waste stream. A lot of the bigger FMCG factories we work with, they see it really tidies up from a compliance perspective the production area, because all of a sudden everything's nicely, neatly stacked on a pallet, which doesn't take any longer, as opposed to slinging it in a bin. And also, like we often say to people, feedback the impact stats we give you to the people on the factory floor, because a lot of the time just like injecting a little bit of purpose into their role often has a big impact. And then, you get a bit more out of people when they feel like there's a reason why they're doing stuff, is what we find.